Hello, my name is Modern and today I want to share with you my tips for Elden Ring after 40 hours of playtime. This will contain some spoilers when it comes to items and zones, namely secret areas and vendors, but I will not be showing any bosses. Tip number 1. Do not neglect Vigor on any build. Many bosses in the game have the capability to one-shot you very easily. Having that extra chunk of health will make you able to survive hits and heal back up, or just straight up ignore the first hit altogether. A decent starting point is 14 Vigor before you enter Stormveil, 18 during Stormveil and 22 after. Tip number 2. Now this might sound like a lot, but there is actually a very good talisman available early on that will boost most of your stats by 3, while increasing the damage you take by only 5%. Marika's Scar Seal is located in the Siofra's River Zone, next to the Hollow Horn grounds. The entry point elevator for the river is located in the Mist Woods right next to the Minor Earth Tree. Tip number 3. When looking at the fresh map, you can see the location of the respective map fragment. It's depicted as an obelisk and can be marked with a beacon to easily find it. Tip number 4. When exploring certain regions, you might want to drop down a cliff, but this can kill you very easily. One way to check if it's safe to drop is by throwing a rainbow stone to the bottom of the pit. If it shatters, it's not safe. If it doesn't, you can jump down. Tip number 5. Speaking of dropping, some elevators, especially in the mines, have ledges you can jump on during your ride. There is a lot of items hidden that way, so always keep an eye out for those. Tip number 6. Now mines contain a lot of upgrade materials for weapons and most of your damage will come from improving your toys. You will find 2 types of shards, one for basic weapons and one for special ones, with the latter being much more restrictive. But you might just be starved on materials altogether, so here are some mine locations you can easily access to grab upgrade materials up to shard tier 4. Tip number 7. Once you acquire a bell, go to the round table hold and give it to the 2 ladies to unlock new trade options. You, for example, gain access to unlimited shards this way. One such bell can be found in the Raya Lucaria crystal tunnels located in the northeast of the big lake. Tip number 14 will go over how to unlock your hold. Tip number 8. Enemies in the mines have hardened skin and most weapons will deal abysmal damage and bounce back at you. Both can be easily fixed. Those miners are weak to magic damage, which can be swapped to with a respective Ash of War. And your weapon should not bounce back when using a jump attack or charge attack on them, especially not when two-handing. You can also one-shot them very easily with a backstab. Tip number 9. Gaining access to an in-scaling Ash of War can be troublesome, but you can find one very early on near the starting point. For this you need to run southeast once you exit the stranded graveyard, and jump down onto the ledge near the Seaside Ruins Grace. A gravity magic using elf-like enemy will be located there, and will drop the ashes we are looking for. Tip number 10. But you can also gain access to the most basic magic, Glintstone Pebble, without ever fighting an enemy. Just run to the broken bridge east of Stormveil Castle. Hidden between the bushes near the cliff is a trail. Follow it until you reach the lake facing Cliff Grace. Run a bit further until you find the Church of Irith. There you will encounter Tops, who offers you to train you in basic sorcery. Tip number 11. Some more powerful sorceries can be found right near the church. There are a few graves northeast of there and you can grab the Academy Scroll there. Once you give it to a teacher, you will be able to learn 2 spells, Great Glintstone Shard and Swift Glintstone Shard. Tip number 12. You can find a teacher without fighting any bosses far north of the lake facing Cliff Grace. There are a few tombstones stuck in a cliff, which you can use to jump down and just follow the road until you reach the lake. Stay near the land and follow the cliffside until you find the eastern Liurnia Lakeshore Grace. Turn east, follow the road until the next crossing, turn north, follow the road until the next crossing, turn west, and follow the road until you reach the Church of Voes. There you will find a gigantic turtle wearing a bishop's hat. This NPC can teach you additional sorceries and incantations and accept scrolls as well as books. Tip number 13. Now you need a staff for casting those juicy new spells. Teleport back to the Cliffside Grace and follow the path to the west this time time until you reach a camp. You can run past this one and you will find a merchant sitting near the Lirna Lake Shore Grace. This one will sell you a glintstone staff. Tip number 14. By now you should have unlocked the hold. This one can be naturally unlocked through a variety of things. Enter the lake zone and rest at a grace. Enter Kellit zone and rest at a grace. Fight the first boss in Stormveil Castle and rest at a grace. Tip number 15. In this hold is an NPC that sells you more incantations. You can also give him prayer books. Now if you want to help other people see this video, don't forget to like and leave a comment. You can also subscribe to me to support me. Tip number 16. If stuff is still too hard for you, you should go south to the Weeping Peninsula and clear it for loot. It's a really fun zone and introduces you to a few basic concepts. It's basically Tutorial Island. Tip number 17. There you will encounter a Mausoleum Tortoise. To bring it down to your level, you will need to destroy the ghost-like faces around its legs. Each Mausoleum Tortoise has its own gimmick to bring it down. Tip number 18. Really good damage types until mid-game seem to be fire, magic and bleed damage. Lots of enemies are weak to those and resistant to holy damage. This is especially true for Stormveil Castle. A great bleed damage weapon is the Uchigatana and can be found in the death-touched catacombs. You'll find the Uchigatana on a dead body hanging over the ledge of the platform. It's a very easy dungeon and you gain a very strong weapon with a great weapon art. As for fire damage, use your grease and crafting menu. Just apply it to your weapon and you're good to go. You will not be able to apply this buff if your weapon is already imbued with some magic, holy or other damage type. Try different damage types against bosses if they seem too hard, and Elden Ring really wants you to utilize everything you have. Tip number 19. Do not roll in poison swamps, because your armor will get coated in this stuff. Once you leave, your poison meter will still increase. Now what can you do about that? Rain will wash it down and you can also roll in water, but you can also circumvent it altogether. Just mount up. Your horse does not get any penalty from running around in a toxic swamp, so deal with it like that. Tip number 20. Talk to NPCs multiple times. This will further progress some quests and will turn some NPCs into vendors after they relocate. Some also give you items. Tip number 21. Buy a telescope item from a vendor in the Church of Elle. You can use it on horseback and rotate turret in place without any extra movement. This helps tremendously during parkour sections. Your dub jump can also be used to change directions instantaneously. Tip number 22. Those glowing skulls on the ground can be destroyed to pick up some minor runes. Those give you 200 runes per pop and are very handy early on. Some weapons might have trouble destroying them, but you can just mount up and walk over them. Don't forget to pick them up afterwards. Tip number 23. You can also attack on your left side when on horseback. Just use your L1 or L2 for a light or heavy attack. When your weapon is extended for a charged L2 attack, you can run through enemies to damage them. Now the next section is specifically for Stormveil Castle. If you haven't explored it already on your own, do it before watching this part to not spoil yourself. Tip number 24. You can access a hidden item by jumping down on a ledge right before the halberdier in the rampart tower. Tip number 25. Once you reach the top of the rampart tower, there is seemingly nothing there, but you can jump onto a wall from the wooden platform. This gives you access to the roofs and towers of the castle. The destroyed tower right next to the wall contains a stone sword key, and you can also find many other items here by just exploring. Tip number 26. This also gives you access to the main gate backside to kill all those enemies that are shooting at you. Once you're done, you can open the main gate in the guardhouse and grab the items in front of the gate. Tip number 27. You can skip the barrel throwing birds by jumping over the walls onto the roofs right after exiting the grace room in the rampart towers. Tip number 28. The elevator in the rampart tower can be activated. For this you need to run past the barrel throwing birds and jump onto the wall onto a small ledge right beneath it. Keep jumping down until you hit one that breaks. Do not use any moves or attacks, otherwise it might kill you. There is more here, but that's for you to discover. Just make it to the end to unlock the elevator. Tip number 29. To unlock the closed door at the lift side chamber grace, you will need to use the elevator right next to it. Run to the corpse on the wooden platform. Once you are up there, jump onto the wall ledge. Next, jump to the stone windows on the opposite side of the corpse you found earlier and follow the path until you make it to the door. Tip number 30. This will unlock access to the underground, but you can also jump down there onto a platform from the other side. I don't want to spoil you guys what's down there, so I will end it right here. If you guys have any more tips or secrets, tell them down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. My next video will feature a spellblade build guide I've been working on since release. I also thank every trader in my lair for their generous donations. Anyway, that's all I have for you for now. See you next time and bye.